Okay, so I'm recording some demos with the egg tools. When you first add it, just copy the add-ons egg generator folder in there. You can go to project settings and enable that like any other plugin. Then you can add a mesh instance right there. We'll call it egg. We're going to give it an egg mesh, which will now just appear in here as 2 radii egg mesh. I'm calling it that because you define the shape with 2 radiuses, the large and the small, the blunt end and the pointed end. And so this will just set the size of those. You can change the size of the egg overall. That's based on the length. It'll be from tip to tip. And you can increase the number of faces if you want a more detailed or less detailed egg, depending. And then there's this power curve that sort of it changes how it interpolates from the large side to the small side. So you can get a slightly, more pointed look if you have lower values, and more blunter look if you have higher values. There's also a hollow version, and the shell thickness is only relevant if you're using that. If you shift a different camera there, you can look inside. If I remove the hollow, then there's nothing else inside. Okay, and then of course you might want, then also you might want a different material on here. I did, because a lot of eggs have speckles on them, I made a speckled egg shader. Appears right here. It's not speckled yet because you need to set some of the parameters, particularly this noise texture is important. You need the noise texture 3D, and then you can set the type of noise to fast, noise, light, and then you can change the look of those speckles a lot based on just what sort of settings you have in the noise. Usually I bring the frequency up to about 0.1, and that tends to be good. And you can try different styles of shape, and you can play around with all these settings depending what you want that to look like. Then of course these others can change the base color of the speckles, and a threshold. So the higher you hit this, the more of it will be the speckled color, and how fuzzy or sharp the edge between the two colors are. And there's also these blunt and point increase. That's for if you want more speckles along one end of the egg, you can increase that. If you want them, again, you could do that on the point side as well. So then if you turn this down, you have speckles just on the tips. There are some real life bird eggs that will do that sort of thing. Then if you don't want to be using this whole shader, you can convert it into a Cubemap. This is using the convert speckled material to Cubemap node. And if you just go here and you can copy that speckle material and paste it into here, and then it'll save it according to this file name, and it runs a camera in 6 directions, and it generates this Cubemap based on that speckle pattern. So now on this one I can assign a different material. If I load the Cubemap egg right here, then I need to assign the Cubemap to it, and that'll be and when I was doing like a hatching animation, I wanted egg to wiggle back and forth, so I ended up making a rolling egg tool. Hang on, create, there we go, create rolling curve. You create the rolling curve, you need to assign the mesh to it, so again I'm just going to copy the value from there, paste it here. You define a rolling axis, which is the axis that the egg turns around and which direction is down, and the range that it's going to generate and the number of samples it does to generate that. You click and it generates these two curves right here. This one is the height that the egg needs to move up and down as it's rolling, and this one is the distance it can move away from the center based on how far it's rolled. So then if we want to actually see that in action, we add another node here. This is the play rolling curve. I separated these two so that if you're just generating the curves, you can get rid of this in your final game and just include the play rolling curve for playing it back. So again, here we need to copy these curves, paste that in there, copy value, paste that in there, and I'm going to assign the egg as the target that gets moved by this. And then here I have a testing section, so I drag the play rolling curve into there, then start this, and then this test value will now move that egg around. This is fairly flexible. It can actually, you can throw any kind of mesh and it'll work. I can get rid of that too. Okay, the other thing I looked into was cracking an egg. So here again, I'm going to copy this mesh because I had a cracked mesh, and the cracked mesh takes a source mesh and then modifies it. So I paste the original mesh in there, and we have this. You currently can't see the inside of the egg, which is because I need to change what shader we're using here. So I go here, we have Cubemap cracked egg. So if we use that now, I can specify, uses the Cubemap for the outside like the other Cubemap, and then we can specify an inside color, which is whatever. Well, now that we have that, we have these options here for, what is the direction, where's the middle point of where the crack should be positioned. And we can, increase the number of points. And decide 7 is good. We can change the scale of how jagged is that. And we decide, okay, pick another random seed, and it just randomly generates a different one based on that. Now what we can do is we can duplicate this, and now we have to make the mesh unique so that changes we make to one don't affect the other. And then we just check this flip side, and it'll give us the other side of the cracked egg, and then you can do your animation based on that. Okay, and the last one we have here is another shader. It's the boiled egg shader. Boop. Again, this one doesn't, unlike the cracked egg, it doesn't modify the mesh. This is just a shader that where it only renders part of it. And then we can change this threshold to change how much of it is there, and we can use this to change the position or the size of the yolk, or set the color. I'm using the alpha on these to change the roughness, which you'll only notice with lighting. So I decided the yolk is going to be more rough and the albumin is going to be like a lot more smooth. And we also have the direction here, so if we decide that actually, you know, this should be divided vertically instead of sideways, we can do that as well. So in those animations I showed at the start, I set up a play rolling curve like I showed, and then I can call a tween method on the set rotation function on that play rolling curve, and set the, you know, ease and everything that I would like. Here again, this little hatching part. Again, just setting up tween methods that call set rotation. Again, using random values, and that is again calling set rotation using a sine function that diminishes wiggle over time. And this final hatching animation is using a you know, I create the full egg and, you know, two halves, and then just make one invisible and set the others visible, and then just again tween them accordingly. So once you have the basic tools, you can do a lot of stuff with it.